Hey there and welcome. You know, have you ever stared at a stock chart with all those wild ups and downs and just thought, is there some kind of secret language here? A code that could tell us where the price is headed next? Well, today we're jumping right into that exact idea. We're talking about the fascinating and, yeah, pretty controversial world of technical analysis. I mean, that's the big one, isn't it? Can looking at a bunch of squiggly lines on a chart actually give you a sneak peek into the future? That's the question we're going to try and unpack today. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First up, we'll get a solid handle on what technical analysis even is. Then, we're going to peek inside the analyst's toolbox. After that, we dive headfirst into the big debate. Does this stuff actually work? And we'll wrap up with a really fascinating, kind of mind-bending idea. What if it only works because everyone thinks it's going to work? Okay, let's get right to it. Part 1, what is technical analysis? So, at its heart, it's all about forecasting. See, technical analysts have this core belief that everything you could possibly want to know about a stock, we're talking earnings reports, big world news, you name it, it's already reflected or baked into the price. So the idea is, if you study the past, you can spot patterns that might just give you a clue about what's coming next. And analysts look at a ton of different data points. You've got trading volume, obviously, but also things like market breadth, how many stocks are actually rising versus falling, and even the general sentiment or vibe of the market. But for all that data, there's one golden rule they all come back to. Price is king. The theory is that everything, all the news, all the fear, all the greed, it all gets boiled down into that one number, the price. Okay, so if price is the ultimate truth, then how in the world do you read it? Well, it's not that simple. There's not just one method. It's more like a giant toolkit with a whole bunch of different approaches and, frankly, competing ideas. And yeah, this gives you a sense of just how deep that rabbit hole goes. You've got these four main branches: classical, statistical, sentiment, and behavioral. It is a massive, massive field. But here's the good news. For our purposes, you just need to know that almost all of this, it can be sorted into one of two fundamental camps.
Yeah, believe it or not, all those different branches and complicated strategies, they really just come down to two core philosophies.
And here they are. You've got two completely opposite ways of looking at the market. On one side, you have the contrarians, or the mean reverting folks. Their whole philosophy is that prices act like a rubber band. You stretch them too far one way, and they're bound to snap back to the average. They love to bet against the current trend. But then, on the other side, you have the momentum traders. They believe the exact opposite. For them, a trend in motion stays in motion. Their goal is to find a wave and just ride it for as long as they can. So you've got two totally different worldviews, and they're both looking at the very same chart. Which, of course, brings us to the real heart of the issue. For all of its charts and theories and jargon, there's this huge debate raging. Does any of it actually work? Okay, so the people who swear by it will tell you its biggest strength is how flexible it is. You can use the same ideas on stocks, on crypto, on anything really, and you can look at charts for the last 10 years or the last 10 minutes. They say it gives you these clear visual cues for when to get in and when to get out, and it helps you get a handle on your risk. It basically takes all this chaotic market noise and turns it into a picture you can act on. But the critics have some pretty heavy firepower. First, they argue it's totally subjective. You could have two different analysts look at the very same chart and see completely opposite things. But the bigger arguments come from academia. You've got the random walk theory, which basically says price movements are completely random, like flipping a coin. And then there's the big one, the efficient market hypothesis. This theory says all known information is instantly priced into the market, so there's no way to get an edge. Essentially, they're saying you can't beat the market just by reading tea leaves on a chart. But what if there's another way to look at this whole thing? What if technical analysis does work, but not for the reasons its fans think it does? This brings us to a really cool idea, the self-fulfilling prophecy. The concept is actually pretty straightforward. Imagine thousands of traders all over the world are looking at the same chart and they all believe a certain price level is a huge deal. What do? Well, they all set their buy or sell orders right around that exact same level. And by doing that, their combined action literally forces the price to move in the way they all predicted. The belief itself makes it real.
And this cycle here, it shows you the entire life story of one of these prophecies and how it eventually breaks down. So, it starts off simple, right?
A pattern shows up on a chart, a bunch of traders see it, they all buy in, and boom, the price goes up, just like they thought it would. That success gets noticed, more people pile in, and you get this big feedback loop. But then, the game changes. People get clever, or maybe just greedy. They start trying to get in just before the signal hits, to front-run the crowd. And pretty soon, everybody is trying to outsmart everybody else. The whole thing gets messy, and that original, reliable pattern, it just stops working. The magic is gone. At least until a new pattern, a new story, comes along for everyone to believe in. So that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. Is the market some kind of science that can be decoded with the right tools? Or is it just a story? A powerful story that millions of people all agree to believe in at the same time, making it real, just for a little while. That's something to think about. Thanks for joining me.